What is up? It's a Figure Hunter, and we're going to do a review today for the Garmin HRM Pro Plus external heart rate sensor. And we're going to look at it specifically for CrossFit use or CrossFit purposes or high intensity interval training type purposes. So if you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. We're going to look at three basic things. Number one, we're going to look at the specs, the overall specs, the non-CrossFit related type specs, and then the CrossFit related type benefits and features within the specs. Number two, we're going to look at the hands-on of the device and compare it to the Polar H10 and talk about similarities and differences. And then number three, we're going to talk about it in summary, pros and cons, and how it may be better or how it may be about the same as the Polar H10. Now, looking at the specs overall, diving right in, the specs overall is it's a $130 strap retail new from the Garmin site, but you can find them for cheaper in different places. I got mine for $98 on eBay, brand new. It has 5 ATM of water resistance. It has ability to connect to 3 Bluetooth different devices versus the 2 that you find on the H10 and just 1 Bluetooth connection on the Polar H9. You can connect as well to an unlimited number of Ant Plus devices. That means any of your gym equipment that might connect to Ant Plus, it will connect to that. It includes running dynamics built into the external sensor, built into the chest strap, which can pick up different features about how you are running and feed that back into your Garmin analytics. It also will be a standalone device where you could actually just not start not connect it to a watch, not start the workout on the watch and do your workout. You can actually still pick up and track your calories burned, your steps climbed, and your heart rate data, but none of those features actually feed into any advanced training analytics within the Garmin platform. And the last spec, or the second to last spec or feature, is that it actually will fill in the gaps for your heart rate data. So if it is connected to a Garmin watch and you start the workout on the watch, and it basically says go time with heart rate sensing here, if you get out of Bluetooth range or out of Ant Plus range from your watch, it'll still hold the data. And when you go to stop and end the workout, it'll upload the gaps so that you have a continuous heart rate line. And then the last feature is what signifies the plus in the title, HRM Pro Plus over the HRM Pro. All the other specs are the same, but the plus is just simply the battery canister that doesn't require tools to take the battery out and change it once a year, which is how long the battery life is. Now, what specs are we not going to look at in any detail that aren't related to CrossFit or high intensity interval trainings? And that is the running dynamic specs primarily. Now, the running dynamics, it picks up different features about how your cadence and how your stride and different features of your run if you wanted to use this for exclusively running. But I didn't test any of those things. There's a lot of reviews that actually test those features, as well as the standalone, the fact that you could just wear it and it'll pick up and flow back into Garmin Connect, the calorie steps and just your general heart rate data, because that isn't as purposeful for CrossFit or high intensity interval training or a training regimen. But the thing about this device that I was drawn to and did not realize it did was that simple heart rate storage if you get too far from your device. So there are so many workouts where there's 400-meter running intervals, and I have taken my watch off because I'm wearing wrist straps or hand straps, and I just don't have my watch. It's off to the side, still tracking the workout because it's connected to the chest strap. But I go on a run, and I don't grab my watch, and the data gets lost. There's this gap in data. Well, this eliminates that, because as long as you've connected the device to the watch and you start the workout on the watch, it basically triggers this on. And so until you stop the workout on the watch, this is basically reading heart rate, storing heart rate, and when you end the workout on the watch, it fills in any gaps from any run. Okay, great. So it automatically searches for the stored heart rate data. It's going to download it, and then it'll sync it up with the workout, so you actually don't have to hit any sort of special button. And yeah, there you have it. And so you think about how useful that is to be able to not be tethered at a certain distance to your watch, to be able to go all about the gym, on runs, out in the parking lot, whatever you want to do, and know that you're getting perfect continuous heart rate tracking is the primary and I think the most significant benefit when it comes to CrossFit training. So those are the specs as they relate to different subsets of training. So now we're looking at hands-on. We're going to compare it more in depth to the Polar H10 as it comes to the functions of the overall design. And then we're going to come back and talk about the pros and cons and what I think about the watch or the device all around. I have the devices sort of side by side. I put them all out here because we're here to review the Garmin HRM Pro Plus, but we also want to compare it head to head with the Polar H10. And I just thought I'd show the VariSense, which is an optical heart rate sensor that goes on your bicep as a sort of side comparison. So if we look at just the Pro Plus specifically, it's basically got the 2 electrodes here on each of the sides, and you can see there's about 3 inches of electrode space. The strap itself is just a simple nylon strap, and it has good stretch to it, but you can see even after a few weeks of wearing it, it's starting to bunch up sort of in the middle there. I don't find that to be any problem. Overall, it's really soft, stretchable nylon. And the clasp itself, I like the way that they have this sort of cover to it so that when you strap it on and you strap it in, it goes in really easily, but it also has a protection with this super soft backing. Now, the thing that's unique about the Garmin over the Polar, and we'll look at this in a second, the Garmin over the Polar is it is a permanently attached puck. And the unique feature about the Plus itself is you just take off the rubber piece and then you press down and you rotate, and you can easily snap out the battery and replace it by locking it back in place, and still maintains that 5 ATM water resistance. On the previous Garmin Pro, if you're looking at the Garmin Pro, not the Pro Plus, you actually have to have unscrew it, and the water seal sometimes gets pinched and can be a problem. They've solved that by making this just easy to lock and unlock. I'm not going to bother with that. But the thing that I like probably more than anything on this is the fact that the puck stays permanently in place. Now, if you were to compare it to the Polar design, this puck comes off and you have the 2 electrodes. Now, in the past, I have had Polar pucks that have died more quickly because I just kept it snapped in. Polar actually recommends, or at least they used to recommend, that you keep it separate when you're not working out, and then you snap it in place when you go to work out. I don't know if there's a slight design flaw or something of that nature, because when I kept it strapped in, if there was enough water, I don't know, somehow it just continued to drain this, where this is designed to not have that problem. So that is the first feature difference that I like better about the HRM Pro Plus, is I just throw this in my bag. I never have to worry about keeping up with the puck. Whereas with the Polar, I would always take it off and have a separate little pouch for this and have to keep up with this separate from the strap. This does bring about an opposite benefit, is that you can change the straps. I've got like 4 of these straps. So you can allow one to dry out and then wear another one on the next day. So it snaps in place. It's an easy, good design. But one thing we're going to look at feature-wise, the clasp for the Polar 10 is just a little buckle clasp. Whether it's better or worse, I don't know. We're going to look at the differences in the design of the electrode connection area, because it is slightly different. Because in the Garmin device, you have this 3 inches, and if you were to compare it head to head, here on the Polar device, if you can see the reflection in the light, you have about 4 inches, maybe 3.25, 3.5 rather. It's more narrow, so it's not picking up the same width that the Garmin strap is, just trying to get the light to reflect. But the Polar H10 actually has one additional connection point at the further end. So you get the 3.5 inches here, and then this one extra connection point. If you were to hold up the overall size and space, you can see that you have a little more surface area on the Polar H10. The other feature difference about the Polar, let's look at the other side, H10, is you have these nodules. There's these little rubber nodules that hold on a little bit better to your chest, that just sort of keep the strap in place. You can see a little bit of that same bunching that happened on the Garmin, but it's a little bit more thick of a nylon strap, and they have these rubber nodules. So it definitely feels more deluxe or more extensive on the strap on the H10. So those are the primary differences when you look at just the electrode connection as well as the puck and overall flow of the function of the device itself. If I was going to say, I wish the Polar H10 strap was what Garmin used. It's a little bit thicker, so this is a little bit more thin, more comfortable, but I like the thickness better. And then the extra space for connecting it to your chest will keep the heart rate more accurate. Now, if you're just looking, this is a sideline thing. If you're just wanting something quick and easy, this is the Polar Verity Sense, which I found to be more superior to the Polar OH1 Plus because it just has this connection that actually holds it more firmly on so it doesn't flip-flop over your bicep. But that's the other type of sensor you could look at, although it's not 100% accurate because it's an optical heart rate sensor. So that is it when you compare and contrast the Polar H10 to the Garmin HRM Pro Plus. The Polar H9 looks just like this. It looks like the same puck. It maybe is like a fractional bit skinnier. So a same puck system, just a little bit lighter band like you would see on the Garmin HRM Pro Plus, and it only connects to one Bluetooth and Plus on top of that. So it's got a little more limited range and capabilities. So what do I think about the pros and cons and the full summary? The fact that it stores data, to me, is a significant benefit when doing CrossFit training because the CrossFit methodology is constantly varied movements at high intensity. And so if you're constantly varying your movements, you're going all around the gym sometimes doing headstand push-ups, doing pull-ups on the rack, doing different barbell stuff, kettlebell swings, but oftentimes going out for 400-meter runs, oftentimes moving to different equipment, and you never have to worry about proximity to your watch that's actually tracking the core basis of the workout. Now, that's data storage is a significant differentiator from a more generic or more straightforward heart rate tracker like the H10 or even the armband, the Polar Verity Sense, which was worn on the bicep. The fact that it connects to three Bluetooth devices concurrently is the industry leader for the number of Bluetooth devices that could be connected with a chest strap versus most all of them connect to two. And the fact that there's no on and off puck, as we saw in the hands-on, the fact that you don't have to worry about, is it going to drain battery? It's just more functionally useful because there have been times where if I kept the puck on a Polar device, it would drain the battery more quickly. Now, what are the cons? The simple con is that it's $130. Now, if you go on eBay and you buy it for $98 brand new, that's a big difference, but it's $130 in just direct basic retail purchase versus the $90 for the H10, which is sometimes on sale, or the $70 on the H7. It does require a Garmin watch to be able to store the data gaps. So if you're connected to a Polar watch, it will still track your heart rate just fine, but it's dependent on that distance. It won't upload the gaps if you've gone too far from the device. That only works on Garmin watches. But outside of that, I find it to be, for the price difference, I find it to be relatively superior in all the basic ways. Now, obviously, the strap design is a little bit different. I haven't noticed any problems or issues with the strap being a little more thoroughly designed on the Polar H10 than the Garmin HRM Pro Plus. But the fact that I primarily use a Garmin watch, if you're using a Garmin watch, I would say this would be the strap to go for, because you can just know with peace of mind that you don't have to stay in the same distance of your device. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and it'll just upload and fill in all the gaps for heart rate accuracy. Now, if you were just going with any other watch, if you were wearing a Suunto or a Coros or an Apple Watch, or even the Huawei's and the Amazfits of the world connect to external sensors, I think the Polar H10 is going to be a superior, more affordable heart rate monitor when you're wanting just to use any other device besides Garmin, because it's a little bit cheaper. The electrodes are a little bit more thorough, and it's got those rubber nodules on the side of the band, which just makes it hug and hold in place a little bit better. So with that is the review for the Garmin HRM Pro Plus, and also when compared directly with the Polar H10, it's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.